If you aren't a finance major, then the ins and outs of endowments might seem really intimidating, even if you've worked in a nonprofit for a long time. But I promise you, I wasn't a finance major. I came out of the liberal arts, and once you know some basic terminology about endowments, they're much, much easier to understand. So we're going to go through a series here on Real Deal Fundraising, talking about all the different things that you need to know to understand endowments to a level where you can talk intelligently about that giving opportunity with your prospects. Becoming efficient with endowment terminology is essential to growing your career in fundraising though. So you're going to need to learn these things. Being able to converse intelligently about endowments with your prospects is really a key thing for all development professionals. Lucky for me, I worked with 3 incredible CPAs, and those ladies really spent the time to teach myself and the other development officers that worked with me all the ins and outs of the endowment and had us practice how to talk about those with our prospects and our donors. So I am going to do my best to translate this information from finance language into something more like a household budget context, which is going to be a little bit easier for you to understand. And it's a good way to translate and explain these kind of concepts for donors that might be new. So what is an endowment? An endowment at the basic level is like a savings account where you never touch the original amount you put in. That's really all it is. That is an endowment. It is a savings account where the original amount you put in is protected in some way so that you only utilize the earnings off of that original amount. So I want you to think about it as though you won the lottery and you took the lump sum option. So you have this big pot of money and maybe you do a few things with it before you start saving it or investing it. Maybe buy a house, take a big vacation, whatever that is. Whatever you're left with, that amount of money goes into a savings account and you're planning to live off of the earnings of that initial amount of money, that lump sum that you put in there. That's all an endowment really is. That lump sum amount that you have decided not to touch, in endowment world, we call that the corpus. Corpus is from the Latin, it means body, meaning that is the protected amount that you're going to utilize to grow and make more earnings so that you can draw off of the endowment. The piece that you get in your earnings is also sometimes called a spending allocation. In the higher ed world, oftentimes we're using that as a scholarship. So we may call the earnings part a scholarship or part of it. So surely it's not that simple, right? Well, you're right. There are more terms that make these things a little bit more subtle and a little bit more complicated, but it's still not too hard to understand. So hang in there with me. Just keep that original image of we have a lump amount that we are investing and protecting and saving, and then we're going to utilize the earnings that that lump sum makes while it's invested. So keep that in your mind, and next we're going to talk about more of the subtleties around endowments, the complexities around the terms situated around endowments.